culture gone back supports the use of condoms.
Yeah, exactly.
By all means, please do use condoms.
I am buying this because in 10 years I can sell it and gain money out of it.
No, but I think art market is actually fucked, but because we sell idea which either comforts us or provokes us.
Yeah, being able to see reality is a curse. It's not a gift. Remember, we are cursed.
We are cursed.
Yes.
Well, we are going to hell then.
Sometimes it takes a complete outsider
Exactly.
to point out something which is so obvious, but in Western world, we are obsessed with bright light, being very straightforward, and everything's super defined. Yeah. The amount of juicy asses I have seen over the past year, it's almost traumatizing, I have to admit.
Baby, you crossed the velvet rope the moment in which you took your credit card.
Culture Gone Bad is back, and guess what? We are together again.
Yeah, in real life.
It's so good to see you, Drupi.
Good to see you too.
How have you been?
Like pretending that we didn't see each other.
Well, it's nice to record together. How about that?
It's nice to record together. Yeah, I'm sure they will appreciate as well.
Yeah, it's delightful. Right. So, we've got a lot of fascinating topics today. I'm going to start with introducing I'm going to talk about new TV series, Euphoria on HBO, and I want to talk a little bit about what sort of aesthetic and meaning and symbolistic value we bring and why we are so popular and successful. And then I want to share my recent Prada Store shopping experience and see what you, Drupi, think about it. What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about the detachment I want to talk about the art, first of all, and the detachment of the concept of price and the concept of value in the contemporary art markets. And then I want to answer a question that remained unanswered the last time because I've been asked by somebody on Instagram what I think about the overwhelming presence of the color black amongst fashionistas and fashion people, and I think it was a very interesting question that we can explain thoroughly.
Wow, fascinating, Drupi, very interesting. So let's talk about Euphoria. Have you watched any season?
I haven't watched any season, but since you told me to watch it, I have been chased by Euphoria. Everybody's been telling me, watch Euphoria. Oh my gosh, you're not watching it. Oh my gosh, in which planet do you live? Etc. And I've been bombarded by the algorithm must have heard you because I've been bombarded by ads, Euphoria ads. So I think I'll have to watch it. Yeah. Can you tell me more about this? Convince me to watch it, please.
I don't know if I want to convince you, Drupi, but I'm going to actually say a little bit since you mentioned these ads, targeted ads. To some extent, I suppose some people get really freaked out by this surveillance economy where they track everything we say. But I find it cute in a way. Like, I sometimes say things, casually mention them, and I don't even acknowledge it. And then I say, oh, you're advertising me, diet pills about which I joked the other day. Do you think I'm really gonna buy them? No, but I think it's funny what algorithm picks up on some things and completely disregards another. And actually sometimes the things which it's trying to advertise to me are completely meaningless and we won't result in any economic exchange. So here we go, algorithms. You still got a lot to learn.
That's actually a very good point about the algorithm because I see how it targets me and sometimes it's very, very annoying. I really have the feeling that he hears what I speak about because otherwise it's impossible. It's so everything I mention it gives me, but not everything it gives me I want. So as you say, there's a lot of things to do. But back to Euphoria, I want you to let's have a little marketing chat about Euphoria. What is the series' unique selling proposition?
Oh wow, we're doing a market analysis.
Yeah,
Ooh.
please.
So I would say the unique selling proposition is it offers us, the viewers, to experience extreme, transgressive, experiences or modes of existence in the safety of our bedrooms without really having to participate. So it's very much about drug abuse, complicated, dysfunctional relationships, tough upbringings, and also the reality what not all human connections enable us to have profound development and can be very challenging, and also sometimes things we deserve the most are unattainable, and it's all presented in a very dramatic extreme ways. Like when we speak about abusive relationship, we're talking about extreme cases of rape. When we talk about drug abuse, we're talking about people being taken to hospital and being saved, like literally on the last minute just before they were gone. This is the extreme transgression presented.
So it doesn't seem to me that the topic is about freedom. It seems to me that the topic is about how freedom can be misleading and the limits of freedom actually. What's the point between your freedom and you being enslaved by what you believe it's your freedom? That's what I get from what you're saying.
Well, do you think... tell me, where did you get the idea what Euphoria is about freedom?
No, I haven't, but I haven't because I didn't watch it. I watched the trailer after you told me. But there is a sort of tendency nowadays to have this sort of dramatization of relationship, especially teenagers and especially young boys and girls, and
or non-gender conformative people.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And I noticed this in Sex Education, for instance. I couldn't connect to the series because in that case the reason why I couldn't connect to the series was because there was a sort of scientific a sort of didactic approach to sexuality and relationships. It needed to teach you something, or moral lessons or whatever, and I think that sex is the one thing that the more you want to make a discourse about sex, the more unsexy it becomes.
True.
It should be something that should remain unspoken. There's nothing less sexy to say than to say to a young person, it's good to have sex, but put a condom on. So obviously it's an intelligent thing to say.
I would like to say culture gone back supports the use of condoms.
Yeah, exactly.
By all means, please do use condoms.
Yeah. Do use condoms, so you will spare us of certain people that we see around.
Yes, so we've got to keep the reproduction function in control after all.
No, but I didn't want to defend the not using condom. Of course, I'm not talking about the fact that it's a good thing to suggest young people to use condoms. Of course, it is a good thing, but it's a contradiction. On the one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, the moment in which you say it, you're removing the sexuality and the sexiness from it, because you're removing the sexiness of the forbidden action of the forbidden sexual intercourse. Does it make sense?
Totally. I watched Sex Education and I found it quite funny, but it just really highlights what in our society obsessed with sex and very eroticized messaging criteria, it's still kind of a bit of a taboo to openly talk about things, and everyone is trying to find a way to talk about them, and it gets ridiculous. It's like when we spoke about pornography being everywhere, but simultaneously you can't put a provocative selfie on Instagram. This is like, I think, the obsessiveness. But I think Euphoria is very different, and the difference is, on top of this transgressiveness and safety of their experience, it is incredibly aesthetically pleasing. It's got all these neon colors. It's, I think it's shot on film, and all characters, they have a lot of charm and individuality. I think it is aesthetic experience on top of emotional.
What about the plot?
The plot, it's like some teenagers in high school having complicated relationship with their family, with drugs, alcohol, and between each other. And they just kind of go from one party to another, trying one relationship after another, and they all take these notions to extreme, both with drugs, sex, and their parents.
I don't know. I get what the unique selling proposition is. I totally get it. You did a great job.
Well done, me.
Hold on.
Oh.
But you also convinced me not to watch it.
Well, that was never my point.
I was never employed
it, Drupi,
But you
hold
asked
on.
me to watch it. That's what I'm saying, because that's this idea of this loose. I like, as you know, I like to be in control of myself. I like people to be in control of their life, and everything that portrays another reality in a movie or a TV series doesn't really get my attention. That's why I was waiting so badly for Sex and the City, because those are successful women under many aspects, and then I was let down because even they now are unsuccessful. So there is no way of looking around and finding empowered, successful people. They try to sell you victimhood as empowerment today. So
this is exactly the point, Drupi. I don't think we're in 80s anymore, where the role models were very much about empowerment. I think this is what really fascinates me about Euphoria, and I'm not suggesting you should watch it. I think, Drupi, you have beautiful hobbies which you can dedicate time to, which are more valuable. However, my take on this, I'm incredibly fascinated. This series are super successful because they offer these extreme experiences. It's like, you watch horror movie, they tickle your feelings, they take you to very exuberant notions, but you don't really see zombie inside of your bedroom. Like they are there on the screen. And I think this is what Euphoria sells. In a very aesthetic way, you can be raped, you can have drugs overdose, your parents will kick you out of a house, when in reality mom is making chicken ready in the kitchen and you're sitting in your fluffy bathrobe in a bathtub doing your nails, something like that. I think this is where we kind of live. Or another aspect, you can be watching this TV series while your delivery of from Uber Eats being on its way, kind of this sort of notion.
okay, I'll give it a go, but I want to close this with one idea. This idea of an aesthetic experience that titillates your senses as opposed to your mind has one name in the noble discipline of aesthetics, and it's called kitsch. We can move to the next topic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm shady today. I don't know. I woke up like this. Sorry, guys.
No, it's, no, Drupi, I'm just gonna say, the reason why you might watch Euphoria on top of plot, still just I want to highlight, it's got like a cool styling and cool aesthetics, and I think it really resonates with Gen Z, with what we do on TikTok, what we do on Instagram. I even saw some fashion shows and shoots being inspired by that. It's like this almost video game styling, and I think it is very attractive. So it's stimulating for eyes, but it's also stimulating for senses, and that's why I think it's successful.
I think I'll have to watch it just for this.
Yeah, no. I mean, the styling is pretty good. Some fashion ideas are there for sure. However, Drupi, tell me, what is the value of art?
Yes, so this idea came to me because, I've been, even with you recently, going to art exhibitions and seeing that underneath or even talking to friends of mine who are much more wealthy than I am, who buy art, and I realized that the way in which they approach the art market is very different from the concept of art that I formulated in my mind, because they tend to conflate, not generally speaking, the world today and galleries tend to conflate the concept of value with the concept of price. So the value of an artwork coincide with its price, but prices are very unpredictable, and prices look at the next 10 years. But art traditionally has always looked at the next 1,000 years, even 2,000 years, even 10,000 years, right? So the degree of obsolescence of art is much, much higher than anything else.
Hold on, Drupi, I think my female brain is being stretched a little bit too thin right now. Tell me, so value of art and the price of art in kind of a bit more simplified terms. So let's say if I go to gallery today and pay a specific price, do you mean it's going to be estimated, but not what it costs today, but what it will be valued at in 10 years' time.
So if you look at the artists that came out from the older Documenta, the very prominent English artists of the 90s, I was looking
like,
with the...
I don't know, Tracy Emin?
Yeah, like Tracy Emin, like Damien Hirst. These are the names who remained up there, even though there was a vicious article about Damien Hirst on the New York Times recently, precisely on this topic. But then there are so many of them who at the time seemed so promising. You couldn't tell them apart from Damien Hirst and Tracy Emin, and they completely disappeared.
Right.
So their price was high, their value was low. Nobody was able to tell the difference between price and value. And I was talking to my friend who was buying some contemporary art, very expensive, and he said to me, I think I've got an eye for art because everything I see, I've noticed for a couple of years that everything I see and I like increases in value over the next 2 or 3 years. And I said, but you realize that you are approaching art as you would approach, I don't know, a Birkin bag, which is amazing in itself, obviously, but it's a different market. And he said, what do you mean? I said, the value of art is in the fact that it can still be meaningful in 1,000 years, not that its value grows in 2 or to 10 years. Those are two different approaches, which leads me to the real point. Now, obviously, we know that in the Renaissance there were great men, great popes, and great Florentine merchants and noblemen investing in artists, right?
Yeah.
All the great artists.
But we were investing in them because we obviously were hoping to get something out of it. Not for the wholesomeness of
Absolutely.
deeds, because they have very material reasons.
This is obviously, but it was very different because they were investing in them because they wanted to create something great that could be remembered after thousands of years. Yeah. Today is I'm buying this not because I want my household to last, to overcome time, but in my name to overcome my own life, but is I am buying this because in 10 years I can sell it and gain money out of it. Yeah, but so it's a gamble. Yeah. You have to invest in so much, and you are not. And if you have a bad counselor that gives you bad suggestions, you end up buying crap, and nothing lasts.
No, but I think art market is actually fucked. Every time, because it's my hobby, you know, I go see lots of art exhibitions. I go to art fairs, and it is well known what a lot of art, contemporary art, but even more traditional masters, is being bought and it's never displayed anywhere. It's being stored, I don't know, in Switzerland or London. Exactly. Yeah. So where, you know, tax-free, you know, kind of country-free zones where we keep them at the airports. However, this is the thing. Art is not aesthetic object. And it's more about the value and almost money laundering business.
That's the thing, is about the value. But I feel that it is being bought either to be hidden, as you're saying correctly, or as an aesthetic object.
But how many people really buy it as an aesthetic object? I think
many.
Really?
Yes.
But I
know a lot of collectors who want a specific square painting because it fits in their wall.
We want Picasso from his blue period.
Horizontal, long and horizontal paintings because it's nice to have above the couch, you know. I know a lot of people who have this approach, which is not a bad approach. I'm just saying that it's not what makes art last for thousands of years.
Yeah, but this is
a very kitsch approach, to go back to the concept that I used before.
So what do you say what makes art last? It's its investment potential?
No. What makes art last is it goes down to the meaning. It doesn't go down to the price, because certain artists who were completely unknown, who died without being known, without being able to sell their own things, have been discovered afterwards. And what made them eternal, and even pricey eventually, but what made them eternal was the ability that they had to convey meanings that could go beyond the art object itself and could be interpreted over and over again over the years, over the decades, over the centuries.
Same contemporary example. How do you think today artists can create this like meaning which goes beyond?
I think today's artists are too preoccupied, and one of the greatest of them all is Maurizio Cattelan. Do you remember the
of
banana?
course.
Yeah.
And my favorite Maurizio Cattelan is a suicidal squirrel. Have you ever seen it?
Which one is the suicidal squirrel?
It's a squirrel who just shot itself in
Oh,
the head
yes,
and
yes,
it's
yes.
lying on
Yeah.
table. This is
Yeah.
my absolute favorite.
But you see, Maurizio Cattelan is a genius because he brings this to an extreme, and I think he will be remembered of this generation because he brings this concept to an extreme. But you see, it's conceptual.
Of course.
But all the other minor artists who try to be Catalans and don't reach his level of extreme, they are doomed to oblivion. Okay, because they are thinking of how to gather the media attention, not how to create some concept that is revolutionary. And I think this is a bit damaging to the art world, and also damaging to the people who invest in those things.
But art also became business, and as a business, it's only probably focusing on profit.
Yeah, I think the fact that art is a business, obviously, art is more a business than it is anything else, and it has always been like this. So I'm not in any possible way say that art should not be a business. Of course it's a business. What worries me is how the rules of the art business are being changed now, and it's becoming a self-referred business, whereas before was still a business of, the Florentine merchants invested in it, but it was a business, and its point was not to sell more. I had another. It was still a business, but followed a different rules. So what worries me are the rules of the business, not the fact that it is a business itself.
So do you think it became a world of some sort of almost con artists who can create some lasting impact with meaning, which is completely constructed, but it resonates in a long term?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about Jordan Wolfson, he does these installations, which are super expensive. Like his installations, always mechanical women dancing or some robots saying very ambiguous things, and where AI-powered machinery, for which I read some of them cost like £500,000, and it's just like a small robotic motion which is being performed. And he is incredibly successful, but also he's got a reputation for himself because he sometimes says rather outrageous things, and he's very successful. But if you think about his art at its face value, it's quite questionable and almost provocative. So in a way, yeah, I guess today, especially specific market of contemporary art, it is all depending on what sort of message you can communicate. It sells, but it's the same with fashion. When I think most of things today sell not because they have particular functionality or a very profound aesthetic, but because they sell idea which either comforts us or provokes us.
But the difference, and this is to me the main difference between art and fashion, is that they are two businesses that ontologically respond to different rules. Fashion does not aim to last for the next 1,000 years. Fashion aims to last for the next 6 months. So this allows fashion to abide by different rules and do it amazingly. The moment in which fashion does not create things that last for long is the moment in which fashion is working as its best, because it's opening to the possibility of being discarded in 6 months and replaced. But art is a different story. It should have a lower degree of obsolescence. So what is a strength for fashion, in my view, is a weakness in art, and vice versa.
That's quite interesting. At the same time, we do have collectors of fashion who buy unique pieces. No, you don't believe in that?
No, I do believe in that, but the price point cannot be compared to fashion. The only fashion item which is an investment comparable to the best art objects is Hermes Kelly's bags. Okay, the bags by Hermes are the only secure investment for the future. Everything else, of course, you can collect fashion, but there are people who collect stamps and pay a lot for them. So it's the same sort of scale, but not everything that is collectible in the same way.
Tell me, Drupi, would you buy a Hermes handbag? Or maybe you have one?
I don't have one, but I would absolutely buy. Actually, I would wear a black Birkin if I could afford it. That is.
Well, maybe, Drupi, that's your next investment plan.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of our students. Some of them have Hermes bags, and I always look at them with envy and admiration in a way.
Well, Drupi, guess what? I'm sure a lot of people look at you with admiration and envy for your knowledge and ability to see things for what they are. I think this is priceless compared to the Birkin bag, which has a very, very particular digits next to it.
Yeah, being able to see reality is a curse. It's not a gift. Remember, we are cursed.
We are cursed.
Yes.
Well, we are going to hell then. Well, I hope we're gonna have beautiful clothes in hell, all dressed in black.
Of course, red and black, like Lil Nas type of hell.
Oh wow,
that's the place where I want to go.
Okay, and I'm gonna have my Nikes with blood. Was it his blood or someone's blood in his Nikes? Speaking of wearing black, Drupi, why fashion crowd wears black? Do we all know we're destined for hell and we're just doing a little rehearsal?
So a friend of mine, a person I know, who is very clever but is not a fashion expert. He's very knowledgeable in literature and art and in music as well, much more than I am on music. But she doesn't particularly know fashion that well, and she gave me the typical question that the layman could give you, opening a world of meaning to you. You know, precisely because it's not inside fashion. She saw something that was so poignant, and she asked me, why are fashionistas or fashion people who dress in black? And I thought, wow, that's so true. I didn't think about it.
You know, Drupi, it's amazing, just on this point. Sometimes it takes a complete outsider to point out something which is so obvious, but we all become oblivious to.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Today, saying my ideas in few words is not my gift. Sorry, but yes, exactly. That's exactly the point. From her outside point of view, she was saying something extremely right. Okay, so here is the thing. The color black is a very interesting color, and it had many moments of resignification in history. In Victorian times, women hated black because they had to wear black all the time because it was the color of death and mourning, and everybody kept dying constantly, obviously, children, husbands, etc. So they were forced. They hated black. This starts to change in the Second World War because death becomes even more common, and therefore women cannot abide by the rules of mourning anymore. I did an exam on on Victorian mourning, so that's where I started understanding the meaning of the color black in fashion. And then in 1914, when the First World War breaks, women cannot follow the rules anymore because too many people are dying, and it's unthinkable that everybody wears black all the time and only black. Everybody had a dead person in the house. So black falls out of favor, okay, because they don't care about wearing it for mourning anymore.
But hold on, just kind of jumping a little bit back. As far as I know, when the flourishing in 17th century of Flemish art, they were black because it was expensive dye.
Exactly.
So...
For two reasons. They were black, but this was a different thing. This is the Protestant bourgeois idea. Okay, the aristocrats didn't. Only the bourgeois were black, and that's the Protestant idea that you have to wear expensive things, but they don't need to look expensive. So black allowed them to be somber in a way, and to be plain, and to not to be conspicuous, because being conspicuous was a sin in itself. Yeah. And this is where the Victorians take the idea. So it's the idea, but elegance was born with those men that you are saying. So the very concept of elegance comes from this Protestant understanding of simplicity. Yes, and this idea of simplicity comes back in the 20s, because in 1926, I think, pretty sure, Chanel creates a little black dress, and the little black dress is this amazing thing that resignifies black, because it subtracts black from mourning and gives black the meaning of elegance.
But I think what she
and sexiness.
What she also done, she kind of suggested what women who have style should dress almost like they're maids, so they're indistinguishable. Yeah. And but that was the idea of Chanel, was to destroy fashion to create style.
Okay, so bringing menswear.
Mm-hmm.
So fashion with Chanel starts a relentless march towards menswear. Okay, which is by using somber colors and simple shapes, etc. And then it's re-signified once again with Balenciaga, the Spanish couturier who coming from Spain and seeing these morning Spanish women, very similar to the Italian women, wearing black, very elegant in church. On Sunday, and he gives black the new meaning. But then in the 80s probably is the moment in which fashionistas embrace black so conspicuously, and it is because the Japanese designers resignify once again the color black and give the color black and use the color black as a signature. Kawakubo, Yamamoto, all the Japanese masters, Issei Miyake. And that is because if you dye everything in black, you can focus on construction. You don't need to focus on embellishment, on prints. You can really give construction. And if you then with through the prism of the Japanese, look back at Balenciaga and look back at Chanel, that's exactly what they were doing. All of them were much more preoccupied with construction than with embellishment. Therefore, black allowed them to make the shape shine. And I think that today even you, wear black so much because we have this sort of intellectual approach to fashion.
It's very interesting. I went to see an exhibition at White Cube Gallery.
Don't say. Is there any exhibition that you don't go to?
To be honest, I told you this is my hobby. I do see exhibitions.
You filthy pleasure.
Well, I mean, yeah. I guess some people watch Netflix, some people go see art. I think everyone has their own thing. So this Chinese artist, I don't remember the name, but that's not the point. So the whole exhibition based on a concept of how in Western world we are obsessed with bright light, being very straightforward and everything super defined. Whereas in East, in Asia, they kind of have less direct approach to describing things, and light can be very subtle. And the whole exhibition is split in black and white and sort of interaction of movement, technology, light, stillness, and almost like organic matters. And I thought it was very beautiful comment to reflect on how sometimes very obvious flashy things are not as intimate and meaningful as something simple and maybe not so brightly lit. So in a way, I think this relates why we in fashion appreciate black, because maybe it has this hidden discrete meaning which is more intimate rather than to have, I don't know, bright pink embellished Schiaparelli style dress. Sometimes for things to be really profound and unique, they need to have such an area of discreteness, minimalism, and not so obviously out loud.
Yeah, and the point that I wanted to stress is that I know many people who can wear colorful things and crazy things. I don't know, I'm thinking about Anna Piaggi, the great Italian fashion journalist, and she was a genius, and she probably never wore black in her entire life, only bright colors, but she could do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. So for me, it's much easier to embrace the uniform of the intellectual, which is wearing black, total look black. But I think it's also from our part a bit of a uniform, indeed. It's a way of saying we are sophisticated. We are so sophisticated that we can speak about fashion without being somehow infected by it.
Oh wow, Drupi. We are sophisticated. We are very, very sophisticated. Interesting. Speaking of my uniform, so I had a very interesting experience I wanted to share with you. I went shopping and I decided, well, what is better to do for a person destined for hell than to go to Prada Store. And
whereabouts?
Sloane Street.
Right.
Yeah, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go straight to the center hell destination in London. And I was wearing my black uniform, everything black, and I had the hoodie on. It was fashionable, oversized hoodie. And I went into the store And the moment I entered it, I was greeted quite coldly, and the staff asked me if I can take my hoodie off, like from my head, because I had hood up. So that was very interesting beginning of my experience.
That may be because I've been asked the same thing at Uniqlo. Yeah, this says it all. You go to Prada, I go to Uniqlo, but I dream of Prada because, guys, remember, the most important thing is not what you can buy. We are poor bitches, okay? It's what
black.
You dream.
As long as it's black, it sounds okay.
It doesn't matter what you buy. It matters what you dream. Okay, if you can buy Prada and you dream of Michael Kors, that's a problem. Okay, so dream well, even if you don't have the money, just like us, like me. No, she can buy everything because she's rich. Okay, sorry.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she's Russian, so sorry, you were
Rich
saying?
Russian. Sophisticated rich Russian. JP, I think you're putting so many labels. We're gonna run out of spots to place them on soon.
I thought it was... I always understand there is a certain stigma about wearing hoodie in public places, almost like balaclava, like you're not supposed to do it. But simultaneously, you would think they would cut off some of this bullshit because, come on, we don't have many tourists, the store was empty, I was the only customer there. Even if I was going to steal something, there was enough of stuff to,
hold me down to the floor and call the police.
I don't know the rules, but it could be that they have some rules from maybe from the government or something, because I have the same experience at much cheaper stores, and I always assume that it's because, I mean, if you steal, it's not just if you steal something, but if you're a terrorist, they can through the cameras, they can identify you.
Yeah, but no one is going to ask you to take a face mask off.
But they can't.
Yeah. So here we go. You see, it's a little bit contradictory. But, I think my guess would be, I obviously haven't checked our legislations. I think it's more like a social norms and etiquette. You just I think there's a certain stigma about the social type of class who would wear their hoodie up. And therefore, I think we're trying to purify the aesthetic experience of being inside of Prada. What we have people who are, kind of complicit to specific ideas. And I would say throughout the experience, when I ended up shopping there, they all warmed up to me. And when I was leaving, everyone was super happy. So I think, but I mean, just like...
what did you buy, by the way?
What did I buy? I'll show you one day. I'll keep it as a surprise.
One day?
One day you'll see, yeah.
Cardi B.
Yeah, and I just think it's quite interesting. To me, it looks like at this point in economy, and so many brands, like actually, business is not as strong as it used to be. I would imagine they would be just pleased in whatever way or whatever style you come in, considering we are not consumers.
No, I stress this point. I now, initially when you were speaking about it, I didn't understand what they were. I thought they didn't want you to enter the store because you're wearing a hoodie, not because the hoodie was up on your head. Now that you explained it, I don't think it's etiquette. I think it's just health, safety rules but I do agree with you that they are that they may be very careful about the style of people there. But it's a very Italian thing.
But how about I put it this way? What if I had a hoodie which would have like Prada written in it in very big logos? They probably wouldn't have asked me to do it.
I think they would have anyway. But to remove it from your head, I mean, because I'm telling you, it happened to me at Uniqlo. It's not something that it only happens in expensive places. So I am pretty... But I can tell you one thing, though, that reinforces what you're saying. As an Italian, when I was living in Rome and then in Milan, for me it was in Italy it was basically I don't know now, but a few years ago it was basically impossible to see somebody wealthy wearing hoodie in public.
This is very resonating with me again. Yes, I think our fashion general direction has gotten very casual, and now you see a lot of people who you can tell they can afford things. They are dressed in super casual hoodies. So this is another aspect. I mean, come on, everyone is wearing juicy couture these days. So I guess to some extent it's also a fashion statement. Oh yeah. The amount of juicy asses I have seen over the past year, it's almost traumatizing, I have to admit.
No, but I was traumatized when I went to Los Angeles over 10 years ago. Yeah. For the first time, and Beverly Hills was full of these rich, filthy rich women. I was staying in Beverly Hills I stayed there, the second time I stayed there for over a month, and these women were wearing tracksuits with these botched faces, botched by very bad plastic surgery, and God knows how much I love plastic surgery, but they were completely botched, and they were wearing tracksuits, and I never saw a rich lady wearing a tracksuit before, because in Rome, in the rich areas of Rome or Milan, it was not something very common. It was something that they would never. I mean, outside of a gym, you would never wear those things. Obviously, I was not one of them, but yeah.
Well, these days still, if you want to shop Prada, hood down. Well, luckily, if you are a KGB subscriber and if you participate in our cultural critique, you can wear your hoodie anytime you want.
Anytime you want, anywhere, we love hoodies, as you can see.
Hoodies community.
Yes. But yeah, you were telling me before they prefer to cut. You were putting it very beautifully. You said Prada prefers not to sell to everybody in order to abide by a
filter through the particular target consumer and preserve particular experience within their store. I get it. Brand wants to protect its boundaries and efforts, but simultaneously, it's quite interesting where do you draw the line between desire for endless profit and at the same time keeping this exclusivity. Because to some extent, especially what's going on in London, we are at the point where your exclusivity is so exclusive, you don't even have anyone who wants to participate in it that much. But Prada doing this quite well.
Yeah, also it reminds me that Prada used to have a male line for Miu Miu used to have a male line, and then at some point they cancelled the male line at Miu Miu because they wanted Miu Miu to be for girls. Okay, wow. Maybe today for girls of all sexes.
That's it, non-gender conformative.
Exactly.
Soon we will have lines for everyone.
But girls, and they have projects like the Miu Miu Women's Tales where they only ask female directors to direct their own projects. So the point is, they know that a lot of men, including me, would love to have a Miu Miu for boys, Miu Miu for men, but they say this is not the identity of the brand, so we prefer to sell less, but to sell to the right people. And that is what in marketing is called the velvet rope, and that's how brands create a sort of a community around them. So I'm not sure it's a losing strategy. I'm sure that this somehow will benefit them in a way. Not in terms of general turnover, but in terms of faithfulness of their own clients.
I'm not sure I will ever be allowed to cross this velvet rope. I felt like I had to push through to get into a Prada store.
Baby, you crossed the velvet rope the moment in which you took your credit card and swiped the credit card in their machine. That's the moment in which the velvet rope was smashed, torn apart.
So when it is too easy to mold the brand and their beliefs. So I guess the power is in the hands of capitalism in the end and not aesthetics.
Completely.
Well, Juppie, do you have any reflections?
No reflections, no. I'm just happy. This morning I saw that the Queen announced that Camilla Parker Bowles, which should never be called Parker Bowles anymore because that's the name of the former husband, is going to be Queen Consort. You know? Yeah. This is total news because we thought that she would go by the name of Princess Camilla when Charles becomes king. But no, she will actually be Queen Consort, which means that the Queen, after many years, really understood that the times have changed. And I think in a way this shows how great this queen is. I'm a big fan of Queen Elizabeth. She has shown that she is able to embrace change slowly as she should do, but to do so and never to put her own morality before the morality of the country. So I think, yeah, this is a message of optimism.
Do you
So
think,
she does look like a horse, Camilla, but I still love her.
do you think we will ever see royal family dressed in black hoodies?
Not anytime soon. Probably Henry. Yeah. Because
And-
he's not a royal highness anymore.
Yeah, and Meghan.
Meghan is American, so
yeah,
she...
they can keep it dodgy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's American, so...
Well, I think we'll also keep it dodgy. And on this note, Culture Gone Back says goodbye, but we will see you very soon.
On a hoodie. In a hoodie, please.
Next time, we'll do a little hoodie
Party.
hoodie party.
It's like the evolution of a pajama party. A hoodie party.
From maybe from Prada, Drupi.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, I think that's all.
Bye.
Bye bye. Till next time.